I've learned over time that staff must physically write to have it enter their brain.
Why would I spend all this money on SEO? Yeah, it's nice to pop up when I can just do a direct message video, target that audience, and not spend all this extra money month over month on SEO.
It depends on the SEO and what the keywords are and how hard your market is. Like, I'm not going to win Pizza Tulsa. Domino's is going to win that every single time. Again, managing the system, not the individual.
So what I'm hearing here, you have 300 employees. That's not a small operation.
No, I have learned through doing so many apps. I'm not against apps, but I've learned most of it is bullshit.
Welcome to Chasing Millions podcast. I'm Eric.
I'm Josh.
And today we have a special guest with us from our hometown of Owasso. Who we got here with us today?
I am Mike Bausch, owner of Andolini's Worldwide, a restaurant group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Nice.
So before we even started this podcast today, we were kind of getting to know Mike, and you have a kind of a neat history. And I was watching some of your previous podcasts with somebody we've had on our show before. And, you've started out in New York and ended up in San Francisco, and out of all places, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Can you kind of give us that story real quick?
I mean, my dad's a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, retired. Me and my brother were both in the Marine Corps, respectively. I did officer candidate school and then found out I had type 1 juvenile diabetes. I went to law school in California, in San Francisco for 90 minutes. I said, no, this ain't it. And that same day, my brother was getting transferred here to Tulsa from Fort Lauderdale as vice president of Alamo Rent-A-Car. There was, in 2004, in this area, there was a massive influx of people. There was Capital One, Alamo, National Rent-A-Car, Verizon, Honeywell, all got massive tax breaks to move to essentially Owasso.
Yeah, that big business center out there. It's vacant.
Yeah. So, and my brother's like, hey, I'm getting a bonus. Take this and we'll do a family thing. And that's about, I don't advise saying to a 22-year-old, hey, you should open a restaurant with, I had worked a fine dining restaurant. I worked a pizza place, but I was a poli-sci major going to law school. So all my friends were like, hey, you're about to go to law school. And they're like, do you work at a pizza place in Tulsa? As opposed to, and I was like, well, I own it. But so big shift real quick and went all in on being an entrepreneur 6 months out of college.
So
I want to know why pizza?
I mean, I have a soul. It's not a high bar. When people are like, did you always love pizza? I'm like, you love pizza. If you don't love pizza, you're a trash person. It's not a high bar. So why pizza? I could say without being a cocky bastard, I know an insane amount about pizza now. When I open, I'm like, I have a degree in pizza making. I am a licensed pizzaioli. I could teach other people as a business, and I have a certification in teaching pizza. I know all about everything down to the microscopic level of all things pizza. Now, why? That's me now. At the time, it was like, okay, in Owasso, all these people moved here. There's Rib Crib and not even Domino's yet. Like, we're talking early. There was just a Papa John's, a Rib Crib, and like, well, pizza will win. Pizza will be what these people who are Floridians, who are a lot of East Coasters moving to the Midwest, are going to say, hey, I want a good pizza place. And that's why we tried it out.
Man, we have a lot of East Coast and West Coast people moving into the Oklahoma market and Arkansas and Dallas and North Texas area. All of Texas, actually. We have 2 or 3 California guys in our office that work for us full time.
Mm-hmm.
Now more than ever. I opened 20 years ago this month. So
20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty long for a business and restaurant industry.
It is.
Yeah.
The math is half of restaurants fail in the first year. 1/4 will make it to 5 years. And I don't have the stats on 10 years or 20 years. So we're the anomaly.
Well, you built a brand, and it's a consistent brand. Every time I've eaten at your restaurant, I know that it's going to be good. I know what I'm getting. I know the taste is going to be consistent, and people like consistency. And that's workplace environment to food they eat to the route they drive to work. People usually do the same thing of habit.
Yeah, and I think that's, in terms of lessons, that's a misnomer lesson that's, I think everyone would agree, oh, consistency is good. That's the theory. But in a restaurant, I also help out a lot of independent restaurant owners. And I have a book and a whole consulting thing that I've done on the side to help restaurant owners.
What's your book?
Unsliced, How to Stay Whole in the Restaurant Industry. And it's a real book. It's not like a pamphlet, garbage, entrepreneur, 80-page thing. It's a real ass book on Amazon. Went to #1 on Amazon, but
#1.
in the culinary category, yes, it did. And what I've seen with a lot of restaurant owners is they perceive chaos as growth or movement as progress, and that is not ideal. You want to be institutionally boring. Like, that's the way we do it. That's the way it gets done. If you're going to make a modification, it's finite, it's clear, it's specific, it's obvious. So there's no ambiguity. And that means you're going to get boring. And a lot of restaurant owners don't live like, oh, I need to do it. The need to be needed and all these conflicting things that they feel that it needs to be like what they've seen in the movie. Yeah, chef, we're doing it. It's on the line. Like, just the garbage that people believe it should be is not what it should be to be consistent.
So all those chef TV shows that you see, they're freaking throwing pans around, they're arguing in the background. That's exact opposite what you want in your kitchen.
Especially not in the modern day. So interesting thing, where does that come from? The French style of training, French chefs do it just like Marines do. We're going to yell at you to get you to understand stress, so that you can handle a stressful thing. That's the concept behind French training. At some point, people just believed being an asshole was like what kitchens are, and it's not, especially in the modern era. So that's not what a functional kitchen does. It's not how you should operate. I don't condone it, and it's dumb. So if you've seen it in a movie, it's not what we do.
Really? We talk about this all the time, folks. What you see on TV, what you see on social media, there's so much bullshit in that world, you know, and how you run a business, it sounds like to me that you're very systematic. You're you think things through. You take the time and put some thought behind it before you roll out a new system or a new product. And that's what you have to do. You really have to study your craft and get to know it. And if you don't, you're going to fail. You know, you just told me you can teach people how to make pizza and you have a certification. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
Yeah. You know, I thought you just worked in the kitchen or you bought into a franchise, but you know, you're not a franchise. You're an independent operator and self-funded, it sounds like. Yeah. So is your business partner still your brother?
Yes. Yeah, 20 years deep.
20. Is he actively involved in the business or is he working for Alamo?
No, he left Alamo fully in 2012, and then he was always a part of the restaurant, and but then went all in on it 2014.
Oh, really?
So we've been doing, and yeah.
So what is his involvement into the company?
So we've also taken on business consultants and learned how to do this significantly smarter than when we first started. I don't say restaurant consultants, I mean business consultants, and learning like the EOS model and stuff of that nature to get in our lanes. I handle all things marketing and ops and tech side of things and public relations. He handles the finances and repairs and maintenance. And we both contribute to the menu, and knowing our lanes is a significantly smarter way to operate.
Did you learn the EOS model here in Tulsa?
Yeah.
From the banker?
No, I learned it from the greatest EOS teacher in America, Nate Brim.
Okay.
Who, if you don't know, that's a solid ass EOS implementer.
Here in Tulsa?
He is here in Tulsa, yeah.
Okay.
So we're always talking about how difficult it is to work with family and friends.
Yeah.
What do you think separated your and your brother's situation from a lot of other people's to make that work?
Well, I think here's where family works and here's where it fails. If you look at it as like, oh, they're not going to fire me because it's family, it's screwed. It's screwed from Jump Street. And I have fired both my nephews. So
how was that experience?
It's like, you suck. What are you doing? Like, what are you going to do? Fire me? Like, yeah. Like, so there's that. If you would die for it and you know the other person would die for it, then that's the ethos, then it's good. It doesn't mean it's not with a crap ton of agita of just like, oh, like bringing up something that happened in 1997 in the middle of like an argument about business. Yeah, it's not ideal. And I don't advise people to get in with business because you're going to shift the relationship, and it's a different type of marriage, but it is that. And you just have to look at it from that perspective. Is this person willing to die for it like you? And if that's the case, yes, it's a smart move. Anything shy of that, it's extremely stupid.
Oh, we actually had a podcast yesterday talking about you almost have to be psycho to be a business owner. I mean, you have to be so obsessed with it that you're willing to sacrifice everything for it. Your health, your time, your friends. You know, when I first started, when I was 23, I was watching one of your podcasts. It looks like you started when you were 22. Mm-hmm. And I started 23, and I didn't have any friends. My friends was a porta potty truck and a porta potty and my customer. Those were my friends I developed relationships. That's all the time I had. I was limited on capital and went through the grind. So to flip the script, I'm in business with my brother too.
Yeah.
And it's we are always friends and internal competitors. So if you can, for me, what drives me is we are internal competitors. You know what I mean? We want the best for each other. We love each other. We want each other to be successful. But being a partner is a totally different dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Like it hasn't changed our relationship per se, but it definitely makes you think about things differently. It's funny how you can be cut from the same cloth, but you're so different.
Yeah, there's things that are, I think that's another advantage is that we have, we still think the same stuff's funny, but then we have vastly different approaches to things so that we can have a more robust awareness of how to handle scenarios. And there's things that he's stronger at, things that I'm stronger at, and we at least recognize them. Like, hey, you talk to that guy, that's your thing. I was like, hey, I don't want to, this is all you, the type of guy that we need you to talk to. And also going to the psychosis of being a business owner, coming out, I was in Officer Candidate School of the Marine Corps, which is not enlisted. I'm there being evaluated to become what would then become a second lieutenant, and just like my dad, to become, essentially on the path to general. And the Marine Corps shows you how far you can push your body and your mind. And I didn't know I had type 1 juvenile diabetes through this training. So like it was hard for other people. It was debilitatingly hard, and I still got through it. So after that, my mind was like, a few things happened. One, I could push myself way more than I thought I could, even though I thought I could push myself really hard up till then. And then on top of that, you realize that life is finite. What are you going to do with it? And if you're, people who look at their bucket list and it's like, well, when I become rich in my 40s, and then they go and do the hourly job and just, well, this is the smartest move for me right now. And they just check the box on life instead of being the box. I think it's crazier to not. I think you have so much time, and to not go all in on the crazy is more insane to me.
So for you guys watching on here, Mike has been successful in multiple restaurants. I've eaten at multiple restaurants. Some of them I've eaten at like Tulsa Flag Mart, in the airport. I travel a lot, so all over, and I stop at your store in there too.
Right
by
on.
the way, like I'm a good customer of yours,
I
so it's nice to meet you. So I know your personality and why things are done, and it makes sense now meeting you and being in your restaurants. But what would you say that your number one? Give me top 2 objectives of like you had to overcome of being an entrepreneur, not just in the restaurant business, but for you guys watching, an entrepreneur. Like, is it capital? Was it learning curve? Was it dedication? Was it just being Teflon tape and never giving up?
There's a few systemic things that I think we did, and lessons we had to learn. The biggest, you're finding your voice. Like the hardest thing, I equate it to being like a comedian or even like a professional wrestler who's like, you can exist and have all the right moves, but does the crowd dig you? And even with a comedian, like a joke becomes a Chris Rock joke when it's done in his voice and his iambic pentameter, and it becomes unique to him. And it's like, oh, that's that. So a lot of restaurants desperately try to fit in when the thing they need to do is stand out. Now, where I advise all businesses to fit in is on the system. So if your funnel, like model a good funnel, but make it feel completely different while systemically it's identical. So portion control, do that identical to Domino's in a pizza place, but make sure the logo doesn't look just like Domino's and doesn't feel like I'm in a Domino's. It feels like I'm in a unique independent restaurant owned by someone who gives a crap. That's the change. So in personality, pushing it out there. And at the time, we were trying to do all things, appease to all people, and had 30 sandwiches, 5 different sizes of pizza. We're like, we need to do more. And it was like, let's get rid of, make it all killer, no filler. If we don't make it like from scratch, down to the ranch, down to the dressings, down to the meatballs, down to the sausage, we're not selling it, because that other guy down the street could buy that same ass thing, sell it, and we're like both buying chicken McNuggets and saying we're not McDonald's.
Yeah.
So that was a big shift. And the next epiphany was, holy crap, if it's not impressive, by default, it's unimpressive. And that is a hard pill to swallow, because in restaurant business or business in general, like, I did everything right. You asked for pizza, gave you pizza. You wanted a drink, I got you a drink. You wanted the check, I got you the check. What did I? And then they're like, well, you want to go back to that place? No, we just went there last week. Let's go somewhere else. That's death to me because that's just as bad as, you want to go back to the place? No, they're the worst. It's horrible. Both zero new revenue. So unless you're impressive, like holy crap, that place is the shit, you're dead. And fine is our F word. It's fine. Fine. It's just like marriage. Fine. Like if that's what they say, we're screwed.
Yeah, you're fucked.
Yeah. It's a worse F word than that. Yes.
So let's talk about your menu.
Okay.
Is there any specifics for these people that are watching that are wanting to get into the pizza world, and that's just their love and their passion?
Okay. What should they make?
Let's start with what should they make,
How do you
and then
create
how
a
do
menu?
you create
You
something
create it
like
off
that? Because
profit
there's lots
margin?
of options and different things. Like, what do you?
Well, people go to with the restaurant business, the food first. Obvious. Don't get me wrong. But that's the ticket in the door. It's just the ticket. Now you're in the carnival. What are you going to do with it? That's HR marketing systems. So making something that you believe to be deathbed worthy. They're like, hey, if you were going to die, this is what you should eat. That's the level of passion that you have to have for it. And not just cocky, confident because of facts. Not cocky, like I make the greatest pizza in the world. Like that asshole, he's not going to do well. You have to be like, no, here's why it's so awesome. Here's why I love it so much. Whether it's Detroit style, Napolitana, I could go down every single style of pizza and the viability. Like I wouldn't advise Chicago style because you're going to make a table turn that's an hour long.
Yeah.
So, but every other thing, then once you have that, because there's no shortage of guys with their uni oven doing a pop-up, doing something incredibly awesome. But it's all in the ego play of like, look at how amazing I make a pizza. And it will never scale because they don't want it to scale. They want to be king shit of pizza and no one else. They are incapable of training someone. So creating a signature item, awesome, good, ticket in the door. Now, what is the brand? What does it connect to? Who's the ideal audience? Are they going to feel that when they come in there? And I want to do two things with every customer. I want to increase their purchase pride and decrease their purchase anxiety, meaning I'm smart, I'm the shit, I'm cool, I get it because I bought this. And before they get in, they're like, is this going to suck? What is this about? Hold on. Even like you go to a hotel, you're like, oh, is this going to suck? Is this dangerous? Am I in the right part of town? Like, I want to decrease all those thoughts and increase oh, this is going to be the shit.
So what's your highest profit margin thing on your menu?
Our most popular and highest profit is our DeMarco of Brooklyn. It's a straight up Brooklyn style, but if I said, oh, it's a cheese pizza, whatever. If I say it is a pizza with genuine San Marzano tomatoes that I know the family that produces them, so I know they actually come from the San Marzano area of Italy, with pecorino romano imported from Italy with extra virgin olive oil, also not liar olive oil that I verified the source of, and fresh stretched mozzarella that we stretch from curd to make fresh mozzarella daily to place on top of it, with another pressing of olive oil and another Scotia pecorino that we then do the olive oil at the table to give you the greatest pizza experience in America. That's the DeMarco. And for that experience, for that effort, we charge the premium. But at that point, I'm doing something extremely important in business, which is I am selling experience, not sustenance.
That's in depth. How did you went to Marine school, right?
Marine school
You went,
for 6
you went to
weeks.
law school, right?
I went for 90 minutes.
And you just blurted out things that just in the pizza world. How did you, 20 years, yeah, that's a lot to learn, right? But like, when did you realize that you had to get in depth like that? You had to like, okay, you have a finite detail of how you're going to approach the market and what your goals are. Who taught you that?
Talent's worthless. My dad always wanted to drive the car. I always wanted to drive the car in the sense of being a leader. I wrestled and did volleyball in high school. I suck at both of those, and I was captain of both teams. That's just who I am. I want to fucking drive the car, and if I see it I can make it done better, I would rather be up all night to make it better than to just be like, are you going to do it? And like the extreme ownership resonated a lot with me. I read that book after I wrote mine, but it was a lot of, hey, if you get to run it, then you don't have anyone else to blame. But when it works, you get to feel good about it. Mm-hmm. And there's a beauty in that, especially with entrepreneurship. A lot of people don't want to be in charge. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't be. I think that's the cardinal says, like, the ego says, oh, I should be in charge. And I'm like, do you really like being in charge? Because some people don't. Yeah. I do.
I that's been a huge mistake for me, is like, I've tried to force people in positions that they probably didn't even want from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they always fail. At the end of the day, it creates friction, and I'm pushing them harder than they ever pushed. They don't want to be pushed that hard. It takes a certain individual to be an entrepreneur. Like, you have to be a freak. Like, you have to be willing to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, there it is. I just figured it out. You know what I mean?
When it's a game that you're having fun with, it's a totally different thing. Even I worked at a steak restaurant in Walnut Creek, California, which is like the high-end part. So I worked at this steak restaurant where I served MC Hammer, Joe Montana. Like,
That's pretty cool.
And it was at 18, I'm like, I guess I'm working at a restaurant and I don't know anything. And at first I was on the edge of getting fired because I was a dumbass changing in the parking lot after rugby. I had a black eye, so they thought I was in a fight club, even though I was just from rugby. And I didn't know any better. But then I was in there and I'd see like they would bring out all the potatoes, so different potatoes. And I was like, this is just dumb. Why don't I just write a little number on the ticket? And then it was super easy to understand where, because you at a fine dining, you don't want to be like, hey, who had this? You want it to exactly hit
exactly.
So I was able to create this stupid, simple system that this restaurant that had been open for, at that time, 20 years had never thought of. And they're like, look at that. Oh, and I was like, all right, great. And then I did another thing and another thing. And I just like, that wasn't hard, but it made life easier. And I was stoked about it. So that started it for me. And I've just continued it. Oh, like, if there's a smarter, faster, a better way to do it, cool. And when something gets shitty or I get kicked in the gut, I was like, great, now we can do something different.
How many pizzas a day do you sell?
Oh, I mean, it depends on the day. It depends on anywhere from like 600 to 1,000.
A day?
Yeah, something like that.
And you have what, 3 locations?
We have 5 Andolini's pizzerias, a food truck, the catering company, which could be doing 120 pizzas on a day for some event or whatever. And then 2 food hall locations, the fine dining restaurant, the location of the airport that we actually operate, which is not normal. Most of the time that's like a VIG and someone else gives you pay the rights to it. And then our sister brand with our Mexican restaurant, Dos Panchos.
So speaking of like lots of different locations, we're always talking on here about scaling your business. What do you think separated you and learning how to scale, and how'd you do it? What was your recipe for scaling your business and being successful doing so?
When you get to you have to understand what's a me job and what's a they job, and the thing that took me a long time to figure out, because at first it was like, oh, I could put this backpack on, I could do another store and have more weight. I'm still running. I'm still the shit. Let's do another backpack. Look, I can still run. And I have 5 backpacks on. You're like, oh, I'm not running as fast, but I'm still running. And I'm so smart. I'm so good. And it's like, hold on. Who's winning right now? Your ego. Nothing else is winning. So here's the system. Here's your triage. You are verified to do that. I'm going to check in with you. That's what I'm not managing that you did it. I'm managing that the system worked. And then starting to walk away and build up that, and then say, what can I do? What should I do? And that goes to vendor negotiations, marketing, strategic planning, attaboys. All of that is what I should do. I'll work the line tonight. If you want to build up morale, then it's a should. If it's just because I have to, because no one else will do it, then it's a can, and you're a dumbass.
I agree with you. We talk about that all the time.
Hey, we do. And you said something that kind of struck me through this, and marketing, and it's obviously it's a big piece, I'm sure. So I handle most of our marketing, at least spearhead it, right? And I've kind of gravitated towards that through the years. But restaurants, obviously, I'm not familiar with. I'm only familiar with my little section here. What do you think, as far as restaurants go, maybe specifically pizza restaurants, is the most important part of marketing? How are you doing it? What is important to you?
The misnomer is it's percentage of sales, and that's asinine. It's truly what did you do that connected? And that could be you are better spent. And the first thing I say to most restaurants is, give me something to love, i.e. photos and video. And then once you've done that, connect, which is, so Instagram, for example, you're better pressed if you have 1,000 followers on Instagram to go to a competitor and follow all their followers and then just start being nice to them. And it's like, hey, cool watch. Great story. Love that. You want our signature DeMarco pizza, which is like if you don't love it, you're not going to pay. And then be a drug dealer, give them the hit, they get hooked. Hey, we're friends now. See you later. And just keep doing that. So you go on your
competitors.
That's what I advise. We have a really solid following. I don't need to do that, but that's what I advise other restaurants to do, is to go out and look at Instagram as even if you have 900 followers, those are 900 people in a room. And if you're just posting one photo and not talking to them, it's like you went to the corner of the room and just looked at the corner and said, I'm here, I'm in the room, right? No, you're not. Talk. What up? You guys like pizza? I got you.
Yeah.
And you don't need to buy my stuff. Just how are you doing before I start selling to you?
Yeah.
And that's sniper approach. The machine gun approach of like Valpak coupons is dead, super dead. So everything has to be a sniper, not a machine gunner anymore.
So you mentioned Instagram specifically. Is that something to that, or do you do other social media platforms too? Or
we're on everything. They all have different algorithms. So social media or marketing, as I look at it, is what did you do to make awareness of your thing? Sales is now taking that, which almost no restaurants touch sales, which is, hey, would you like to try it? Can I get you something else in the future? Sales could save a business. Most businesses don't touch sales. They do straight up marketing and they're like, well, how could we do sales? Anyone could do sales, but they don't touch that. And there's a mountain of money if you do that, especially for a business that's not known for doing it. So marketing, again, when you pay a marketing, these are the things that I tell people not to do. When you pay a marketing agency, you are their customer. Your customer is not their customer. So they're trying to make you happy as opposed to trying to get you more revenue by making your customer stoked about you. That's where it fails. So every marketing agency ever will be like, gotta try Andolini's. It's the best in town. I'm like, don't say that garbage. I don't want to sound like a cocky asshole who's saying like, I'm the best in town. Like, say we won top 10 pizzeria in America on TripAdvisor, and here's exactly how to order tonight to give the customers purchase pride. But when you say it's the best, like, no, don't do that. So
really,
having a brand standards is really important for
so
that.
you hire a marketing agency?
I've done everything. And at this point, I keep damn near all of it in-house. There's certain people that I'll mess with, PR firms if need be, but there's so many ways to play different things. It's also just knowing what to use in what scenario. But at this point, my marketing is like less than 1%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Your brand, you have a good brand though. I mean, if you walk around Tulsa, and said, you know Andolini's Pizza, I would say 1 out of every 5 people have heard of you or have eaten at your restaurant.
probably more than that.
And again, marketing, what is marketing? And I just say it's connection. I am better pressed to spend the food cost of $50 of pizza, which let's say that's $150 a product, and go to a school, do a surprise and delight, have that teacher Facebook group talking about the free food that came, than spending that $50 on a Facebook ad that will be seen by no one.
Yep. I mean, that's a different approach, but I like it.
Yeah.
And so what is your favorite pizza?
That I sell or in general in the world?
Just your favorite pizza.
Like I love the DeMarco. I eat the DeMarco. My brother does. That's a straight up, like, you can't mess with it. There's every pizza that's on the menu. If I don't love it, if we don't love it, it's not on the menu. So
I'm a foodie. But when I go to restaurants, I'm like, do they taste their own food? Because this is fucking horrible.
yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you leave the restaurant, like, did they taste that? Like, they can't
Some
do
restaurants
better.
don't.
Did they not? They can't do better than that. And I'm like, there's a reason why there's such a high rate of failure in the restaurant world. Like, I feel like a lot of these restaurant owners, like, did they not sit down at their own table and realize that their service sucked, or send a ghost person in that they trust and be like, your service sucks?
There's probably 5 different reasons why that will go sideways. When the person made it, the owner made it, they were in love with it, and the staff isn't being checked in on to do it the exact same way. One issue. Or they're saying, well, people would like this, right? I got to sell it because people would like it. It's like, no one does, but you think they will, and it's just inauthentic. And there's just systemic things that happen.
So you started your first restaurant on Cherry Street, Andolini's.
No, Owasso.
Owasso. Oh, I did not know that. So your first restaurant's in Owasso.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Your second one was in Cherry Street?
6.5 years later.
Okay. So your Owasso restaurant's your flagship. Like, it's your...
That's where we started. That's where we got... I mean, in that time, opened January 8th, 2005. 20 years ago, last week. Had a big celebration. All
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that was just getting our ass handed to us in 20 different ways for the first, especially 3 years. And then I got the pizza training, changed up the brand, stopped doing all these different menu items, refined it. People are like, hey, come to my restaurant in Owasso. Like, Owasso? That's adorable. I'm not coming to Owasso. Then we opened on Cherry Street. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, in that time in Owasso, I had to get really good. We as a brand had to get really good because 40 restaurants opened, of which 37 closed in 3 years. And we easily could have been one of them. So Owasso was great because you learn how to survive. If you're not all things white collar and blue collar simultaneously, you die. And what I mean by that is if we did some like fine, like high-end wine bar pizza place, nope, you're not appeasing Sperry Catoosa guy on Monday through Thursday.
100%.
But if you're too like, hey, we're just country pizza, you're not going to take care of the Owassoans that work in Tulsa that came back Friday, Saturday. You had to be both. So look at the brands that kill it. If you could be a Lululemon mom or a blue collar construction guy from Sperry and go there and feel purchase pride, it'll do well. Chick-fil-A, Lulu mom, both of
100%.
them.
Yeah.
Bricktown Brewery, both of them. And knowing that made Cherry Street fish in a barrel.
Yeah, and so when you started your first restaurant in Owasso, you learned everything about pizza. You learned how to operate one store. So Eric is going through, and I are going through operating 2 locations. One time I had 5 locations at one of my businesses. You have a lot of employees, a lot of systems. How do you manage? Like, how many employees do you have? How do you manage those employees? How do you keep standards? How do you check in on all these different locations? What kind of layer system do you have within your organization? How do you teach those layers? We talk about scale all the time. It's really tough to make a really good living having one location. I mean, you can, but you're never going to get.
Yeah.
You're never really going to play the game and push the limits. You're going to be doing a lot of jobs that you probably don't enjoy. When you scale, you can kind of figure out where your place is in your own organization, and you get to really have a lot of fun. If it's marketing, finance, accounting, whatever it may be. So going from one location to multiple locations, how did you put those systems in place? And then was it EOS? How many employees do you have?
We have over 300 employees now. Now, certain things like, well, do they get it? It's very easy at one store for people to get it because you're there. When you're at like 4 stores and you weren't the person that personally trained them, how do you get them to understand what you stand for? This is one example of a system that very real nuts and bolts. I learned that every training program I had wasn't working. There was like visual video ones that were all on this platform. And I was like, they kind of did it. They kind of didn't do it. And then I was like, hold on, TikTok videos, people like learn really quick, but I can't afford, I'm not TikTok. What am I going to do? So then I was like, well, if I teach you what we stand for and I make it quick, and then what's the greatest video server in the world? YouTube. Just use YouTube to house it, use it as an unlisted video, link it via a QR code, have some questions answered, because I've learned over time that staff must physically write to have it enter their brain. Now I've given a visual aid, a writing aid, and there I have 1 out of 3 steps for them to understand whatever they need to learn. The next 2 steps need to be one-to-one training, and the third being on site, where they're just allowed to do it. So in that theory, there would be a video on here is how you make an Andolini's pepperoni pizza with specificity. It not here's 35 pepperonis, do however you want, but the first round is 20, the second round is 5, the third round is 5, the fourth round is 5, 35 total pepperonis. That is how you make it. Now, answer these 2 questions that you physically write out so it actually enters your brain. And then you will then have your trainer show you it, and then you'll do it and verify that you learned how to do it. I learned that from the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps doesn't say like, all right, you know how to clean your weapon? Cool. No, it's do it until I've seen you do it. Now I know you know how to do it. Now clean it all day by yourself alone.
So you use a free platform like YouTube, and you created all these videos of how to make pizza, how to make fettuccine, what you're about, what the company stands for.
Yep.
They watch the videos before they even start. And then you do a one-on-one training to make sure that they're paying attention and they're to your standard. And then you go to on-site, or one of your managers does.
Well, they do the on-site, meaning that's the third part of it. Like, now make all the pepperoni pizzas tonight.
Now do it.
Yeah, you do it you do reps. And then now that is theoretically there, and there's a final test and everything. That's one aspect of it. How do I manage all of it? Obviously, KPIs. If I see reviews are going down, that's a KPI. The review score, what's going on here? And this is a trend. It's not an anomaly. Again, managing the system, not the individual. And then is revenue where it should be? Is food cost where it should be? Is labor cost where it should be? Is morale where it should be? And then employee evals. Are those coming back in a good way? And in my employee eval situation, the employee hits the submit button. So they get evaled by the other person, the manager. Then the computer is turned, given to them to write whatever they want.
What
and hit
computer
submit.
evaluation
Google Docs or Google Forms.
So what I'm hearing here, you have 300 employees. That's not a
Yeah.
small operation.
No.
But you're using a lot of just common sense, everyday tools anybody watching this podcast can use.
I have learned through doing so many apps and so many programs. I'm not against apps, but I've learned most of it is bullshit. And I'm like, there's nothing proprietary about this, guys. We could, with a Google app and YouTube and a QR code, we could do this better and for free. Just like with our food, I'm like, why am I going to buy a meatball and spend more money on the meatball to then just spend an hour on prep to make the best meatball possible that I could actually be proud of and not deal with all the bullshit and have food costs lower and be able to increase purchase price because you know that's a real ass meatball. It's to me, it's dumb to buy the meatball pre-made. It's dumber than making it ourselves. And the same thing for a system like this. I'm like, I could do it bespoke with a little bit of thought. And shit, this is pre-AI I built this stuff out. You add GPT into it, it's like easy as hell. So and that's what I train other restaurants on. It's like, you guys don't need to be spending $300 a month on an app to do this, which in one sense, in the restaurant world, you're like $300 a month. Oh, it's not that bad. I got to make $1,500 to get that back because it's not just now we're in the whole 300. I have to food cost and labor cost and sales and everything else. Unless you 5 times the ROI, i.e. you were going to lose $1,500 unless you use that app, it's a loss.
So I love it.
Well, speaking of, we're always talking about, the future and how we're adapting and all these software changes and AI, right? So in your world of things, in pizza world, we'll say specifically, how do you think that AI and some of these new softwares that are coming out, how are you following those trends? Are there anything that really applies to what you do?
Well, the currents and at this point we're a full restaurant group. So pizza's our bread and butter of what we started out as. So I look at it as like a restaurant group, and I look at AI as a virtual assistant that could be whatever you tell it to be. I say, you are this, I am this. You are a technical writer, I am an owner of a restaurant group. I need you to reformat this in a way that is approachable to a new hire. That is just a virtual assistant. It's not much more, not much less. It can, hey, I need 30 ideas for this. As you are a social media strategist, I need 30 ideas. Again, it's purely VA work at this point.
Okay.
And where it's gonna go, there's gaming the customer, but for whatever it is, here's the inverse. The more people know that it exists, the more they're going to be desperate for human interaction. So even when you see an email now, you're like, oh, well, this is obviously AI generated.
I do the same shit.
So now what can I, and there's the deep fakes, but if someone if my catering director, I'm like, hey, people aren't responding to LinkedIn posts, you're going to need to videotape yourself. Like, hi, I'm Ashley. We would love to bring some stuff to your dentist office. So here I am, and I have it. Just tell us the day and we'll come by. Like, oh, there's no way she bullshitted that. I don't think they have deep fake technology at Andolini's catering department. So that looks like it's real. Let's talk to Ashley.
So who does all that? Who films it? Who manages your website?
It's simpler to the website is managed by a great Tulsa company called Forefathers. We use a POS system called Toast. And when it comes to doing that, it's just doing it. Again, it's not magic. It's, hey, hit up your top 20 leads, film something. It's not go to the office studio, get your mic ready. Just turn the phone on that we provide for you and film the shit out of it and get it done.
So your marketing company, AKA your website, they're just managing your website. You're coming up with your own creative ideas. You're shooting your own content.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling them what to do, basically.
Well, I think our website's badass, but it's just a website. A website is just like a business card at this point. And it's like, hey,
it's just a brochure.
Yeah, it's here's who we are. Here's what we stand for. Now here's the link to buy our product. I advise restaurants to have great photos. Like even if you're selling a 2-liter, like have a photo of your 2-liter in your store. So I believe that you actually have it.
Yeah. So let's go back to marketing, because marketing is a huge. We're really focusing our time on sales now. We feel like we have the right operators. Our accounting systems are right. But our sales have kind of stagnated.
Okay.
One, because we really tapped out Tulsa. I mean, there's a lot more room for growth, but we need to transition to another market, kind of like you did with different locations and different business models. You hire a company, like we spend thousands of dollars on a marketing firm to manage our website. They really don't manage our social media. They really don't manage anything but our website. And they make some changes, but like, you think that's too much or too little?
Yeah, it's dumb. Sorry. When it
No,
comes when it
we're
comes to a
not.
website, like managing a website should be it's a brochure. Done. Call it. Is it a funnel? Like what's the intended funnel? That they click the link, book the call, da 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 da. Okay, great. Maybe then in that theory it should be on a CRM. Depends on the situation, depends on the business. A restaurant doesn't need a CRM in that
Yeah.
sense. It just needs to order online, which then is technically a
The
CRM.
CRM.
But okay, great. So whether it's high level or entreport, boom, there's our CRM. Now sales is about what are is the smartest sales guys don't come in with here's all the things I'm going to do to solve your life. They come in and they become therapists for 20 minutes. And then they're like, well, all the things that you just mentioned, I kind of got this thing that will fix that if you want it. And then the person's amped and primed, like, yes, absolutely, let's do that. That's proper sales. And being interested more than interesting is the key to sales.
So, what about SEO? Because you hear all these marketing guys. I don't care. You use Forefathers. We use a couple different companies, but we've tried many,
Yeah.
and they always preach SEO. And it's like, why would I spend all this money on SEO? Yeah, it's nice to pop up when I can just do a direct message video, target that audience, and not spend all this extra money month over month on SEO.
Well, I mean, it depends on the SEO and what the keywords are and how hard your market is. Like, I'm not going to win pizza, Tulsa, Domino's is going to win that every single time, but I am going to win on the in the non-sponsored. And so if I have scannable text, like some of this stuff is stupid easy and it's way more complicated than people make it. Like if you just have the scannable text on your website of what you do, what I mean by scannable text is like if I copied it, if I see the words Tulsa, pizza, whatever, and I can just copy those words, you're now being scanned by Google to the keywords. Then go into Google My Business. People are searching what? Like most marketing agencies in general are charlatans. To really know their craft, they're probably not local, all cards on the table, and they're doing some next level stuff that if they're doing it to that degree is probably more knife than you need. And I look at all of these companies, every company as a Swiss Army knife. And when they're like, we do social media and SEO and graphic design, I'm like, okay, out of all those, one of those is a knife. One of those is Swiss Army knife scissors. And there's no way on God's green earth, when I need scissors, I'm grabbing the Swiss Army knife scissors. But you're selling it like it's the knife. So I need to evaluate which one of these things is your thing. And then do I want to even dance with you on the other things? Because people are like, oh, let's just have them do it all. That's dumb. And so when you pay another company to do social media, they're going to post 3 photos a week on your behalf. You could post the next 2 years on a social media schedule and have it set and forget. And it would be identical to what they're going to do in terms of creating a funnel, creating marketing, creating connection. That is going to take incredible amount of time and effort.
So what do you think, if you're a new business and you're thinking about being an entrepreneur in the restaurant world, or what Eric and I do in the service world or the real estate, whatever it may be, what would you put in there? What would you say a monthly budget would need to be for a business, large to small, to maintain and build your website? 500 a month, 1,000?
To maintain it depends on the business, depends on the funnel. To build the website, $2,000. To have it function and be maintained, $100. You could do it. And I say that taking a step back, like I have a course, I have a program for restaurant owners. I learned how to do this by a chick named Sunny Lenaduzzi. She has 500,000 followers on YouTube. Her videos are basic. Her website is laughably bad, but she produces $7 million a year in a very easy way because it's about having a great product. And then even in her course on teaching courses, which is very meta, at first I was like, Little Orphan Annie's Ovaltine, like, what did I just get sold a bill of goods? Because it was just her reading a Google Doc. People overestimate the value of quality. It's not quality, it's tonnage and what the message is. Same thing with video. Like, how many TikToks do you guys see a day where it's completely out of frame? Mike's not great, but you laughed, and that's all that matters.
Those are the ones I watch.
Yeah. And then, so a lot of business, like, I need to make it perfect. I need to make it clean. No, you don't need to do any of that. You need to just do. And if someone's like, okay, I need to start from nothing. Here are some finite rules of Instagram. I grew my Instagram from my personal thing from 1,500 in May to today it's 18,700 in the last 6 months or 8 months now. And the finite rules of Instagram is have a hook like you're a newspaper. Top 3 things, the content, call to action. Top 3 things every single day, video at 9 a.m., video at 4 p.m. If you feed Instagram twice a day, it will reward you. YouTube, a little bit harder. It's like getting married instead of dating. You have to give quality content with a lot of incredible thumbnails, but the quality of the video, not hard. This is overdone and this is great. I mean, people like the quality, but the notion that if I buy the best quality and I create the most quality visuals, I'm going to win is a misnomer to if I have the hookiest, fastest catch. You're fighting the swipe. All of us are fighting the swipe. And the swipe does not care about your Scorsesean level acumen for filmmaking. It cares about the 2 seconds at the front.
So what you're saying is that, in your opinion, you've kind of learned about us and our podcast. The most important thing, in your opinion, is the first 2 seconds in the front, garnering that attention, because we've been getting like a, I don't know, 25, 30 second average on like a 20, 30 minute video, right?
If is this immediate, like I swipe up and like, again, there's ways to game the algorithm, but it was like, if the goal was, for the sake of argument, a Tulsa entrepreneur, and the word on the screen of a TikTok says Tulsa entrepreneur, and the first word said out, well, here in Tulsa, we deal with that. And then now it knows, okay, I'm going to push this to someone who has shown interest in small business in the Tulsa region. It's going to do at least that. Then if it makes it past the first 100 people that don't swipe past half of it, it goes to the next round. Then it goes to the next round. So are you making something that just fights the next round? And you can't pay your way into it. Money's not going to fix it.
We tried that.
It's purely,
we've tried that too.
Yeah,
we tried that. And then even in my 18,000 thing, like I'm like, that landed?
Yeah.
Shit, that landed? Like B-roll of me pushing out pizza as the opener does better than my face. Okay. And if I say the thing you need to do to make your kitchen stupid efficient, that hook does better than any other hook. I don't know why. And you look at Steven, who's doing the influencer pizza, the 918 agent, every single video he does with the one hook that ever landed for him. Now he starts every damn video with it. On my quest to find Tulsa's best burger. And boom, he went from a few thousand to hundreds of thousands.
So we were talking about this before you got here, but do you get on social media quite a bit?
TikTok owns me. Give it that up. Instagram, I don't give a crap.
Well, Sunday's your last day.
No, it's not. Biden fixed that, and Trump's going to let it roll. That's done. They're saved. That got saved yesterday.
I just got an email alert this morning that the Supreme Court overruled it, and they're shutting it down Sunday unless it's bought. That was
we'll see how it plays out. But Biden said he's not going to fine them.
Yeah, Biden said no, and then and I don't know how. I mean, it was on the my little Google update, but and then it said Supreme Court overruled it. Sunday's the last day. If they're pushing it to get bought.
If Trump has, of course they are. But if Trump has fans on it, and again, by the time this airs, it will be like stupid whatever I'm saying. But if Trump has fans on it, he's not going to let his fans down.
No. Elon might get a really good deal.
We'll see. Mr. Beast wants it.
$400 million. There's not really anybody you can bid against on that.
If you want to tell God a joke, tell him what you think will happen.
Well, so where I was going with this is, do you know Dave Portnoy?
Yeah.
And how he does the pizza review thing?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about trying to get him over here to do some pizza reviews?
You're talking to me about my realm. I'm very aware of. There's the Dave Portnoy protocol at each store. We're very aware. He's been to Oklahoma City. He has not been here. I know. Here's a fun story. Dave saved a restaurant 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I watched that.
$60,000.
I saw that on. I followed him. I saw that. It was where was that?
Tiny Brick Oven in Baltimore.
I mean, it was like in a strip center.
No, it's just on a like the street,
like generic area.
Yeah. He that guy had DM'd me, and I saw what he was doing with donating to homeless, and he had already like wanted to do he's in my program now, and we're fixing his store so that this never happens to him again. And I'm gonna do a video, be like, hey Dave, I fixed your boy. So that's how I'm gonna garner and fix the YouTube world.
Come on, Dave. I know you're watching.
Dave will come here. I got him a shirt ready, and my pizza does not suck, and he'll have a great time.
Perfect.
What store did they hit in Oklahoma City?
I believe it was Empire.
Empire Pizza.
Yeah.
They have an Empire Pizza in downtown Tulsa now, don't they? right down the road from Cane's.
Like right next to it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a thinner sliced pizza, and it costs like $45 to have it delivered at Stone Canyon.
I would imagine.
I
Does
know that, 'cause I ordered a
DoorDash
bunch-
charge more of distance?
They did that time. I was like, dang, Ashley, she's like, you paid like $45. She's like, well, that's what people wanted. I'm like, okay, just order it. It was good.
Right on.
It's something different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thank you for talking about the marketing. That's a different approach than anybody we've ever had. It seems like it's working for you. I mean, it got you from one store in Owasso, Oklahoma to 300 plus employees and operating probably a multi-million-dollar business with you and your brother starting from nothing.
When you see that, so here's what I say about all things business and all things even marketing. There's a story of the ham on Christmas. At one point, there was a family who had a ham, and the four corners of the ham were cut off. Little daughter says to mom, "Why do we cut the four corners of our ham off?" Well, because that's how you cook ham, honey. Well, why? Well, grandma, why do you do that? Well, that's how my mom did it. Great grandma, why do we cut corners off this ham before we cook it? Because in the 20s, I had a very small oven. And so many times in business, we're like, well, that's what you do because that's what this guy did. And it doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't mean it's wrong, but it sure as shit doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
And we talk about, Eric and I discuss that all the time. Like, there's so many businesses that offer the same thing. We were offering dumpsters, fencing, real estate, street sweeping, mowing. How many companies around the nation or just Tulsa or Oklahoma City where we're operating at offer those same types of products and services?
Yeah. How do
You're
you
offering
separate
pizza
yourself?
and Mexican food and other things. What separates yourself? Why would they use On Call or OFS or Freedom Homes or Andolini's? Why would they go to your restaurant when they can go get pizza at Domino's and go get pizza at Hideaway, then go get pizza at 1,000 different restaurants? Why are they going to Andolini's? What's separating yourself? How did you find that niche? And
again, this is a big lesson for all things business. People either buy, especially in food, but it relates to all business. They either buy for value or experience. Now, in the value game, sustenance, Pizza, Domino's, who is the best pizza for I want it quick and fast right now? Who do you think?
Quick and fast?
Yeah.
Probably Little Caesars.
What do you think?
probably CC's.
And who's kicking all their asses right now is Quick Trip. Because there's nothing faster.
fair
And
enough.
Casey's,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's nothing
Fair
faster
enough.
and there's nothing cheaper than a convenience store when I want convenience. So they're all in a race to the bottom. And in the race to the bottom, they still lost that race. In terms of experience, if I'm trying to be the best, I'm fighting 4 competitors at most. And just whatever is that high-end or another high-end option. It's the rub of that means I went from having 400 competitors to 4. On the inverse, though, no one says, you know what, tonight? Let's go have the second best pizza in town. So you got to be king shit. And you have to keep iterating and keep trying. But it's a lot better to go about it that way than to fight the middle or fight the bottom, which
So
I
you
want
raise
nothing
your
to do with.
rates, raise your experience. You have less competitors. Let all those big franchises and big box stores do what they do because they're never going to be able to provide the level of service and the attention to detail and all the things that you just mentioned during this podcast. We've been fighting that. We're fighting that
the
right
same
now
thing.
internally because we made a few
We're
acquisitions.
not the value provider. I mean,
We
that's the
don't-
bottom line.
We made a few acquisitions that were the value provider, and now we're kind of on that cusp. But did we go ahead and just raise our rates to get them up where we want to be? And maybe lose a customer. I was speaking to another gentleman on the phone today that bought out. He's in the towing industry. George Bashaw with Allied Towing. He bought out Story Record. Story Record was kind of a bottom feeder. They were a low cost provider.
Mm-hmm.
Brought him in there. He said he lost $1 million in revenue first year he took them over just by cutting customers that weren't willing to pay their price. But he's like, my margins are maintained, high margins. We're making a lot of money. I'm moving my trucks less. When we do move them, we're making.
And before you do that jump, the big question is, what other thing am I providing to the customer that no one else is to increase purchase pride? And that's Story Record example. Let's go. I mean, it could go any. I gave a thank you card after every single thing. After every situation that goes sideways, we do a follow-up call. We did more humanity on the front end and the back end. So people are like, whenever things went sideways on me, they were there. They were really cool to my dad. They provided waters to us when they picked us up on the side of the road. Dad's like, I don't give a shit. I'm going with that guy because I trust that guy. Because in those scenarios, people genuinely, they think they want the cheapest, but what are they buying? They're buying safety. They're buying peace of mind. And if you can provide it, hold on, you're not going with anyone you're on the side of the road, honey. I'm calling Story Wrecker because I know that they background check their people while my daughter in the middle of Catoosa is on the side of the road, and I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
Why do we all go to Quick Trip? Does anyone even think about the price of gas when it's the shady, weird-ass Shell station or Quick Trip? No. You go to Quick Trip because you know it's safe. You know you're going to walk in and no crazy crap's going to happen. You're going to get in and out without some bullshit. That's why they win.
And their food's good. I mean, I like their taquitos.
That helps. But again, the safety and peace of mind is what's getting you.
Yes. You go to Quick Trip because the number one reason why everybody went to Quick Trip, in my opinion, was it's in and out and the bathrooms were clean.
It helps.
They were selling the same peanuts, the same other things, and they had QT kitchen and some of these other things they added over time. That's actually a nice feature in my opinion.
Cleanliness and speed will get you pretty damn far in business.
Exactly. And we're in the business where, where people are putting their trash in or they're putting their ass cheeks on a toilet seat, and most of the time they don't like sitting down on a nasty toilet. So
there's so many ways to provide extra value in that scenario. There's so many ways to differentiate in that scenario of these porta-johns or whatever are cleaned at a higher rate. A video on why it's cleaned at a higher rate. A video about the cleanliness chemicals of why these chemicals are more proprietary and better. The XYZ thing that I, in my shitter, have increased purchase pride.
So if you're an independent operator like Eric and I, right? And for many of you watching, most of you are going to be independent operators. Small businesses by far outweigh large businesses. What would your approach be? Would you always be a low cost provider, or would you slim it down and say, hey, look, I'm going to have less, but I'm going to have higher margins, make more on less dollars?
The Hermosi approach is super smart. Provide a crap ton of value, make it unreasonable to choose anything else other than you. Own the individual, own the experience, then own the brand, and then monetize after all those things have occurred.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And make enough money in the meantime to keep the doors open.
Hopefully.
Being in business for yourself, have you had months where you're like, oh shit?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We opened Jenks Riverwalk, and it was a massive anomaly of a store because it kills in the summers, but people do not associate, or at least at the time, did not associate that as any place that I would go during the winter.
Yeah, because you have to walk around the store. It sucks.
At the time, well, we were on the end cap, but it was this whole mental jump that people just didn't associate with winter. So it was like, oh crap, all of our performers aren't happening. So yeah, it was a hard time. I'm not wanting to ever go back to that time, but I understand. And I have no shortage of rocky cutscenes under my belt. That was one of them from a financial perspective. There's times where I didn't leave the store for 36 hours and slept on the ground just because I got done. And I'm like, I got to be back here in 45 minutes. What else am I going to do? So but that builds your character. It's not the way to live a life.
How many hours a day do you work?
I don't know. I wake up, I do a thing. I'm texting while I get a work out hopefully early enough in the morning. I'm not getting text. I'm here. I will do and do until I want to not. I will go all in on fam. And then if I feel that I'm going to do some more emails and clear it out, I'll do that. But I don't track it. I just do.
It just works.
So what is your typical job? Like, what is your focus right now? You have 300 employees. You have full-time, you have managers at each store.
Mm-hmm.
Probably have full-time HR director.
No.
You sub all that out?
If someone has a situation, we have disinterested third-party HR. HR is a weird thing. Like we have a payroll person who does payroll compliance. We have a bookkeeper. We have catering director. We have an IT director. That's what we have.
How many bookkeepers do you have for a company that size?
Just one.
You have one bookkeeper for 300 people?
Yep.
No way. To manage all those invoices. I guess your POS, point of sale system.
That's a lot of it. And then, she's there and she gets the work done and make sure she's taken care of. And it's yeah.
So what makes up most of your employees? Waitresses and cooks?
Even keel between that, part-time, full-time. Yeah. A lot of that.
Okay. So you're running pretty lean.
From a corporate background, I mean, I think it's a lot. I mean, corporate expense is high for what I think compared to other businesses. I think a lot of businesses overextend themselves on corporate expense, and more people are talking, less people are doing. There's less expectation, And I'm not a slave driver. They have their job, they do their job, they do it well, and they're incentivized to do it and rewarded for it. But there's no bullshit in the mix.
Another thing that I've had to battle, really in the last probably 3 years, was finding people and finding good help more on, like, I would say, the service level. So probably like a waiter for you or waitress for you, or cook. What do you guys do? And do you think you do a pretty good job at it, finding those?
I think we're really good. Beyond referrals, beyond like, hey, you're great. Any other great people like you, which is always going to be the best way to do it. Here's something that I find extremely interesting is the lack of digital doorstep that people do. So a digital, like, people say, hey, walk through your front door of your business to see what it looks like. But people don't do that to themselves digitally, i.e. going into an incognito browser, Googling yourself, seeing how it naturally feels to a customer to try and order your services. Same thing as an application. If I type in jobs in Tulsa, does my business pull up? If it doesn't, what am I doing about that? What would someone who I ideally want to work for me, what would they type? And do I pull up? And then if I do pull up, how do I stand out? Because a lot of people try and fit the shit in, again, just like in business. They try and fit in on the application. We demand a job that does this and this and this and does this and this. Like, your job applications are not.
Start.
You're all good. Job applications. It's more like dating profiles is what you should look at it like. And you are not. They get to choose whoever they want. You're not choosing, they're choosing.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you stand out? You're better sourced to be like, do you want a cool job with owners who don't suck, who give a crap about you? You'd rather that be the hook, like a social media post, and the content instead of must be HPA compliant, all this garbage that you can easily train that you're writing in there for God knows what reason is what's holding so many businesses from getting people back. Write it like you're like a dating profile for people to apply.
So I mean, it kind of sounds like, and I've been hearing a big shift of, going more to just authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Of just being authentic and not just following that narrative, right? And bubble that everybody puts themselves in. So do you use like Indeed or anything like that?
Indeed. And again, digital doorstep. If the day, like 3 years ago, Facebook was better for this. And in 3 years, if Kerploff is the best place when you type in restaurant job Tulsa, then that's what we're going to get on. And then you game that algorithm and you game how do I stand out, look authentic, and be a real human so that someone who looks at this wants to apply. And then the other caveat, when they do apply, when they do show up, the warm blanket approach as opposed to the, hey, maybe you'll work out. No, warm blanket. Hey, so happy you're here. Would you like a pizza? Would you like this? Love that you're here. I want them to stop applying to other restaurants, believe like, oh, wow, this might be my home. Let's do that. And look at it like the perfect first day of high school as opposed to the worst day of middle school.
So what's your average retention?
Our attrition rate is extremely low. It depends on location and time of year, but it's a very low attrition rate. Especially compared to the industry, which is like mostly 100, 150% attrition, we're lower than that.
Yeah, because you just
So you're doing
all
something
these,
right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's an interesting approach. I didn't think about it like that.
So you mentioned consulting.
Mm-hmm.
So people are contacting you to teach them how to run a efficient, effective business.
Yep.
And you're probably not just doing pizza and Italian. You're probably doing
It's anyone who's an independent owner for like 1 to 10 stores who wants to fix, or I have super successful restaurants they've never systemized. I have pre-open restaurants. I have restaurants at 1 store, 3 stores. So they go to getunsliced.com. They see my stuff and do my program, and it's awesome.
Guys, for you guys watching or ladies watching, looking to start a restaurant, you hear Mike talk about all the things he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. I've seen it with my own physical eyes. I've eaten at his restaurants.
Yeah.
They're good. They're consistent. I like them. My family likes them. Everybody around here, I know that I've never heard, to be honest with you, I've never heard of anybody that I've talked to that says they don't like Andolini's.
I agree.
I mean, have you?
No, I have not.
I need it to be that this was the greatest pizza experience of your life, and if we come short of that, we're not doing enough. That's the goal.
Yeah, like, don't take this the wrong way. I'll just be honest with you. Like, the experience when you walk in, like the niceness and all that, I've been to better. But like the consistency of the product and how I enjoyed the product I put in my mouth, and the garlic knots that you have, and the ranch, and the level of service when I walk in there, it's consistent. It's not like I'm waiting forever. Somebody, give me a menu, and they approach it pretty much the same way. It's your Italian restaurant you just opened on Cherry Street. I really enjoyed it. I've eaten there once. I probably promoted your restaurant 4 or 5 times. In fact, I was talking about your restaurant to our CFO before you walked in, and he said, "Send me the name of it."
Cool.
Because I was talking about that big cheese ball and how you make the fettuccine. I'm a fettuccine guy. And that was a different approach that nobody else has here in Tulsa. Everybody does the same thing. You order it and they serve it to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's it kind of put that experience approach in it versus Andolini is it's kind of like, here's your product and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's not really, the experience isn't, in my opinion, not there. You know what I mean? It's not like your Italian restaurant or what is the other restaurant we always go to during Christmas? Right across the street from you.
You're talking Roosevelt.
McNally's or Roosevelt's.
So in an experience, like if you order the DeMarco, it's going to be an experience-driven signature item. That's what we brought with Proximo. There's pizza items that are geared towards families, towards business guys, towards to go, and it's having an ideal client and then satellite ideal clients. And then how do you appeal to them while also, obviously a higher end clientele can have a higher end server. When you're selling bottles of wine for $200 a bottle, you could pull off things you really can't pull off in an Andolini's. But all of that is to say we always are iterating and trying to under-promise and over-deliver. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I'm going to continue to eat at your restaurant. And it's even to me, it just boggles my mind. I really did think that your Cherry Street restaurant was your first restaurant. You started a restaurant company out of San Francisco to Wausau 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That just boggles my mind still today because there was nothing in that town 20 years ago.
Not a whole lot, no.
No, we were there before Target.
Yeah.
You were there before Hideaway.
Yeah.
Marco's.
Yeah.
That's a risk.
Yeah. At the time, I
went
looked
all
at it that
in.
way.
That's great. And you don't own. So let's kind of wrap this up. But let's talk about. I hear all the time from business owners are like, well, I'm going to own my location or I'm not going to own my location. You see people like Quit Trip. We mentioned Quit Trip on here. They don't own any of their locations.
You mean the land?
Yes.
Okay.
What is your approach? You spend most of your money focusing on systems and lease.
If we could buy any of the land, we will. And we've done that when we can. A lot of times they don't want to. There's a big issue in Tulsa with people who have property hubris. Where they're like, hey, they're like, we'll offer you this much. They're like, well, I want this much. Like, well, it's not worth that much. Like, well, that's how much I want. Like, all right. And we've even paid above market. But we can only pay so much above market.
Yeah.
But I will always take owning the land. And I think that's what a lot of restaurant owners especially should do because it's really their retirement plan for a lot of these guys. If they don't do it, it's not smart.
Let's talk about exit and we'll wrap this thing up. So Eric and I, from my point of view, and this is just one, I always think that people need, when they get into a business, it doesn't matter what type of business it is, one of the top things that they need to be thinking about is when I do execute and I become successful is what is the exit goal?
Mm-hmm.
Is there one? Some businesses just don't have one. And some businesses have a multiple of EBITDA that's high, mid, low, whatever it may be. What is that something you're thinking about? Like because you're going to only want to make so many pizzas for so long.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to at this point, I could do it. I mean, my brother's 15 years older than me. I'm 42. He's 58, and we're still going. And he's fine to go till 70. I'm fine to go. So, I mean, I didn't know EBITDA, 5 years ago. I was like, well, how does this all work? I learned how it all works. I learned how M&A, all of that stuff. I have friends that do it, and I was like, okay, I get it. Do I want to do it? Not really. If I wanted to, I could. And I know the process now. You have your safe room, all that kind of stuff. It's fine, and you either sell to someone who's interested in continuing it, or someone who wants to chop shop it for VC. But whatever you do, I think it's really smart to plan that. But I also think it's counterintuitive to entrepreneurship to have that at the forefront of your brain. At least on the entry level, because you have to be so passionate, so dedicated to it. Once you have house money and you're buying and selling businesses, it's just a different ballgame. To get in, it's got to be you. From the ground floor, it's got to be all you. And when later on, you're investing in someone who's going to live it and make it all them. So how do you make it your baby, and then unkeystone yourself. It's hard. If it's all you, and then it's like, no, it's not about me anymore. It's a very hard jump that a lot of businesses can't pull off.
Hey, let's wrap this up. Like I said, appreciate you coming on. Nice meeting you. It's always nice putting a
Right on.
face to a name that we love to enjoy ourselves. So thank you for coming on again, and good luck in all your endeavors in the future.
For sure. Thank
You're
you guys.
killing it.
That's the hope.
Thank you guys.